What is up, FunAhead fans? In today's episode, there are crickets in my barn. Stay tuned. Welcome back, FunAhead fans. In all seriousness, today we are talking exhaust modifications on my 996 911 Carrera 4. When I last made a video about this, we were talking about the exhaust modification that I made. I homemade an exhaust bypass kit out of existing tubing that I cut off of the stock mufflers. And of course that was because one of the stock mufflers had failed. A baffle inside of one of the mufflers came unwelded and it started rattling really badly and annoyingly. So instead of spending a whole bunch of money on a brand new exhaust system, I decided, you know what, maybe I can kind of get creative and take some existing hardware that I have in my shop and maybe fashion some kind of exhaust out of it. Of course, that went through several iterations in itself, and finally it led to this, what we have today, and that is not homemade, as you can see. All right, so yeah, those are very much not homemade, and the reason is very simple. This is the final part that I had, one of the sides that I had fashioned out of existing tubing from the muffler, but you can see what the problem is here. Very quickly, just from humidity in my barn and just from driving it in the weather, they rusted up. So in addition to those homemade tips not looking the best, they didn't exactly fill out the cutouts in the bumper very well. They weren't my favorite looking. Finally, I said, okay, these are a no-go. I don't want these on the car anymore. But in the spirit of staying inexpensive, I decided that I was going to not buy the FabSpeed muffler bypass kit that they sell. I believe that comes out to $800 for the 996.1 Carrera to get muffler bypass, their muffler bypass. Now I have nothing against FabSpeed. I think it's a fabulous company and they make fabulous exhaust systems. However, this is not an exhaust system. It is, as you saw, a tiny piece of tubing with a 90-degree bend and a tip on it. Therefore, to me, in my head, that is not an $800, $700 purchase. So in the spirit of keeping it cheap, and like I said in previous videos, I have purchased expensive exhaust systems before. And yes, it was worth it and an amazing sound. Now, I could do that eventually for this car, and I probably will, because quite honestly, this is loud. But it's livable loud, and I'll go into more detail on that later. But what I ended up doing was I did a little bit of a search on eBay. And it turns out someone on eBay sells an exhaust bypass kit for about one-fifth of the price or 1/6 of the price. It's like $160 or $170. I forget the exact number. I will correct myself right here. Anyway, so right away you can see it is basically everything that the FabSpeed kit is. And you know, there might be some minor quality differences, but honestly, it looks just as good and it sounds the same because fundamentally it is the same pieces of hardware. So before we start it up and I show you exactly what this puppy sounds like with these new tips, I just want to go into some pros and cons about not so much specifically the eBay exhaust bypass kit, but just the exhaust bypass kit in general. Basically, starting off with some critiques. So, critique one, and this, like I said, is not specific to the eBay kit. This is a general thing about the exhaust bypass. The FabSpeed system is the same way. The FabSpeed kit is the same way, and that is that they stick out a little bit too far for my liking. They're making them kind of a little bit extra, a little bit too gaudy, but finally, it could be way worse, and as you guys saw from the total back view, it's not hateful back here, you know? It's a pretty good look, I think. But FabSpeed's, it also sticks out the same length, So you would get that regardless of if you bought the eBay kit or if you bought the FabSpeed kit. My gripe for that comes from a place of, I've always kind of been a big fan of the stock tip. Maybe that's a weird thing to like, because the stock tips are, you know, kind of nothing special. But I also like the understatedness of them. I think they're cool. They're just, it goes along with the kind of aura of a 911 in general. It's a very understated car. I mean, yes, it's a sports car and it stands out on its own in that way, but compared to a Ferrari, it's super understated. So that's what I've always kind of liked about the stock tips. These ones are a little more standout. That's okay. Pros of the exhaust bypass. It straight up sounds like a GT3, and I will go into more detail on that in a little bit and show you exactly what that sounds like. If you saw my previous video on the 100,000 mile report of this car, then you've already heard that, but I'll play that clip again in a little bit, and I'll also show you guys how it sounds when it idles. But pro, they sound amazing. They definitely sound super throaty when they're at idle, but also when you rev it up and really get into it, it just has that like tearing through the space-time continuum kind of like flat six, you know, growl or howl. It's just such a good sound. Other pro, specifically to the eBay ones, they're cheap. They're straight up cheap. I mean, you know, in the spirit of keeping the exhaust modification cheap, trying to fashion something out of nothing. Obviously, I ended up buying something, but I didn't give up and go buy the $700 kit from FabSpeed. But honestly, I've been running these for months now, and quality-wise, they're great. I have no gripes with them whatsoever. Yes, I did have to go buy my own exhaust clamps, but who cares? I just ran up to Napa, bought some clamps, and I was good to go. But on the note of them being just as good, like I said, I've been running them for months. These are stainless, and as you can see, well, clearly my exhaust clamps, just to give you a comparison, have not survived nearly as well. Those were shiny when I bought them and took them out of the box, and they are rusty now. And the rest of this tube, and a pretty good looking weld there too, is completely stainless and staying that way. So not bad for eBay. Good job, eBay. So without further ado, I think we can get to the point in the video where we fire this puppy up and see how it sounds, and I can talk about it a little bit more afterwards. Let's do that. Well, what do you guys think? Please let me know in the comments below. Personally, I love it. And I think it's honestly, for being literally straight piped with the exception of, yeah, the catalytic converters are still there. The thing is not excessively loud. I mean, it's not a Mercedes-Benz S-Class on the road, you know, but it's not excessively drony, and I've driven it long distances. You know, it's summertime right now. I've been taking it on trips. I've been taking it on long drives, and it's not annoying at all when you're just cruising down the road. And when you really get into it, it's the sound you want, to be honest. You know, it's like, it's so much race car. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Maybe you completely disagree. But honestly, I would say if you're thinking about doing this, and you know, if you don't want to pour a bunch of money into an exhaust mod, or if you just want, you know, straight pipes on your 996 or 997, because it applies on that car too, do it. I'd say absolutely do it. I was honestly a little worried beforehand, before doing this, like if it would be a little too loud, if I would hate living with it. And I don't. I honestly don't. I mean, I drive this car so much and it's totally livable and doable. You know, if you have neighbors close by and you get up at 5 in the morning to leave and go to work, maybe this isn't the mod for you, because honestly your neighbors will probably hate you. Anyway, huge thumbs up for the mod in general. Also huge thumbs up for the eBay kit as opposed to the FabSpeed kit. Again, nothing against FabSpeed. I would totally buy a FabSpeed exhaust system. I just didn't want to spend all of the money on the exhaust muffler bypass. Anyway, with that, thank you guys so much for tuning into FunAhead TV. If you like these videos, please do me a huge favor and like and subscribe. It helps my channel out massively, and I would really appreciate it. Thank you as always for tuning into FunAhead TV, and I will see you guys next time.